Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is Asim here, and it's been some time since I made my last video. That was received quite well, thanks a lot. And probably this would be the last video of this year. Uh, and this video is quite detailed, and a lot of people have been asking about this, to how to write their own Nuclei template. So hope this might help with that. So we would be talking about how to write Nuclei templates, some of the things or the syntax about that. And we would also be talking about YAML. So I would give a brief intro about that, what's YAML and how we are going to use that. It's very simple. Then we're going to write a template for PHP info pages, and we are also going to see some of the other templates with increasing difficulty to write, and I would explain all those as well. So stay till the end and make sure to like the video if you feel like, subscribe to the channel and share it with whomsoever you feel like that would get benefited out of it. Without further ado, let's get started. So this is the Nuclei's GitHub page. The links would be in the description. You can go and install this. I've already shown how to do and install that in a previous video where I talked about how to get low hanging bugs using Nuclei. So here are the installation instructions. You can see that video for all these, or it would also be in the I button here. I would also add the links in the description as well. So just you need to download the release, enter that, move it to this file. After this, the first thing you should do is you should run this command. What it does is it downloads all the templates in the local directory so that you could use that. So I have already set up that, so let me show this. So this is the Nuclei template, and I am opening this folder into VS Code. So VS Code is an IDE which helps to write code. Now it has syntax highlighting and a lot of other things which eases the work of writing. So I've just opened it here. You could see the files folders here. Now let's talk about, so these templates, if you see, so let me show you any one template. Let's say PHP info YAML or get config YAML. Let's say we're talking about this. So you could see that these are YAML files. So YAMLs are basically it's kind of human readable serialized files. So it's just a type of writing so that machines can read it easily and even humans can read that. So this is a YAML, and let's briefly talk about what a YAML is so that it helps you understand how to write these. So all these templates are in YAML, so that's why I'm just giving a brief intro about YAML. So this is a YAML syntax, so let's see what it says. So we use YAML because it's easier for humans to read and write than other common data formats like XML or JSON. So it's mainly used for writing configurations so that other tools or tools like Nuclei or other tools can easily understand that. Let's see YAML Basics. So this is the documentation for Ansible. Ansible is an automation tool, but this is generic for any YAML. So YAML is like JSON, so it's generic and it stays agnostic to the tool. So nearly every YAML starts with a list. Each item in the list is a key value pair, so it's called dictionary or hash. So there are only two things in YAML, either it's a list or it's a dictionary, and those are very common, very easy to understand constructs. So we need to know how to write list and dictionary into YAML. That's fine. All YAML files, regardless of their association with Ansible or not, can optionally begin with triple dash and end with triple dots. So if you see here, this is an example. So it began with triple dash and end with triple dot. All members of a list are lines beginning at the same indentation level, starting with a hyphen and a space. So this is very important that the indentation should be the same. So if all these indentation are the same, then all these belongs to the same list. And there should be a hyphen and a space, so dash and a space, so that would signify a list. A dictionary is represented as a simple key value pair, which is the usual thing. So Martin and then name, a job, skill. So if you would have to access like Martin's name, what you would do is martin.name. So it's similar to JSON. And then there's a like mix of both. So this hyphen and space, this is the list, and inside this list there's these key value pairs, and then again in this key value pair, the skills, there's a list, Python, Perl, Pascal. So there could be a combination of list and dictionary and both of these. So these are the only constructs that you need to understand. It's very simple. Let's see in this context. So there's this id, it's a key value pair. So id is the key and git config is the value. Info is the key and these are sub keys under it. So if you say info.name, then you basically get the value git config disclosure. Similarly, if you press info.author, so if you like access that, so it would display Iceman and pick cu. Similarly, it goes for that. So let's see how this is useful for us. So this is a templating guide for Nuclei. So Nuclei is based on the concepts of YAML based template files. So these are template files. This allows easy extensibility capabilities to Nuclei, obviously. Templates are written in YAML, which specifies a simple human-readable format to quickly define the execution process. That's cool. So here they are showing, let's start with the basics and define our own workflow for the presence of git config file. So basically they would try to make us write this file. However, we would try to write a file that would help us detect these pages like PHP info pages. So let's start. We would use the same commands that's present here. Template details. Each template has a unique ID which is used during the output writing to specify the template name for an output file. So here they have written ID git config. So let's create a file here. So let me create a file here. Let's say phpinfo.yaml. You could give any name, but it's good to have name that resembles what it works for. So let's change the ID to phpinfo files. phpinfo. It's a unique identifier for the template. ID must not contain spaces. That's a must. Now information. Now the second block is the information block. Next important piece of information about a template is the info block. Let's copy this. I would explain what it does. So info block basically talks about the template. So some of the details that you would see when we are running this template, you would see these getting printed there. So like what's the name of the template? So git config file detection, we would say php info file detection template. Now author is HackingSimplified. You could write your own name, obviously. Severity, I consider this bug, if I found this bug, I would consider this as low. So we talk about the severity of that. Description, searches for the pattern, searches for the PHP info files, I would say. PHP info files on the past URLs. Yep. CVSS score, we can remove this. We don't require this. So yeah, that's that. Actual request and corresponding methods are placed below info block and they perform the task. So now we're talking about the next part of it. So the next part is the, like I would say, the most critical part, and it contains the major logic of all these templates and all these, how Nuclei would work. So there's this request block. It starts with requests. So it starts with like that, and then you write the method, what kind of method you want to send. Like the Nuclei sends HTTP request. It also works for DNS request. So for HTTP request, you pass in the method like get method, put, post, delete, all these kinds of methods. So you could see request method can be get, post, put, delete, patch, etc. depending on the needs. Here is an example usage. Let's copy this. We would paste it here. So we probably can remove this because we haven't yet known about this. The next thing is path. So the next part of the request is path. Dynamic variables can be placed in the path to modify its behavior on the runtime. So I'll talk why it's needed and why it is. So if you would have used Jinja, you would have seen that usually variables start with this. So Jinja is also a templating language. So variables start with double quote, double curly braces. So one of the variable is base URL, another one is host name. So base URL is basically whatever the URLs that's being passed. So that gets replaced with this base URL thing. Sorry, the base URL gets replaced with that variable. So suppose let's see the usage here. So if you are running Nuclei like this, so nuclei -l urls.txt, then the template file and the output file. So each of the URL that's in the urls.txt, that gets replaced with the base URL. So base URL is replaced with this. So you could see here, so path base URL get config. This path will be replaced on execution with base URL. If base is, suppose there's an example here. So if base URL is set to abc.com, then the path will be replaced to the following: abc.com.git/config. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and pass it here. We are good with that also. So usually I keep the indentation level same, although these are, so these the lines that start with like hash symbol, so these are comments. And also if you want to add multiple paths, what you would do is you would like add it like this. So let's copy this multiple times. Remove this php info.php. Sorry. So I'm just writing what are the possible files that could be here. Like this could be info.php, there could be a.php, and then I have also seen this. Yeah, let's see. So what you are doing essentially here is you are passing all these file names that could be there, which would be similar to a PHP info page. So the thing that you do in wfuzz or ffuf, so what you do is you pass the whole directory list of file names, and all the base URLs are being matched to that. Here you are doing a similar thing, but it's only for the PHP info page. So probably if you would be doing it for yourself, you might consider adding more payloads here. I'm just doing it for the purpose of demonstration, so I'm not adding a lot of payloads here. You if you prefer, you could like indent it in the comment also, but I prefer commenting, like indenting the comment as well, but you could leave it that way also. Next thing is headers. So headers are important because I would show why headers are important. So let's first indent this. Yeah, seems like, yeah. So user agent, I would add my own user agent. My user agent, I think it would show. So I'm adding my own user agent. That would help like bypass a few checks. So yeah, this. So what happens is if you don't add a user agent, Nuclei's own user agent would be passed, and that might get flagged onto a lot of WAFs. So it's better you pass an original user agent. We don't need this custom origin, so we should skip that. You might require this in maybe some of your use cases. So let's see what other things are there. Now body, so body specifies the body that needs to be sent along with the request. So if you're doing a post request, you might prefer adding it here. We don't require this. Now there's this session tag, so cookie reuse true. So session tag is used when you want to like maintain the session. So if you're doing, let's say, an authenticated request, and so there you might want to, and there's some cookie that's being set on every request response. So there you might want to add this, so that would help like maintain the session. So a similar thing that people do is in like when they do Python, when they use Python to send requests. So instead of doing a raw request, they use the sessions. So request.session. So that helps maintain the session. So it's similar to that. Now the most important thing, or probably the heart of all this, is the matches. And they have also mentioned that it's the core of Nuclei. This makes the tool so powerful. Multiple types of combination checks can be added to ensure that the results you get are free from false positives. So matches are basically what does all the hard work. So once you get the response from the victim or target, these matchers do all the things that you want to check for. So like suppose if I want to check for PHP info page and I want to check some strings there, so I would add a matcher for that. If I want to check, let's say if I want to check the status code, whether I'm getting a status 200 or maybe I'm getting a status 301 or 201, so we would add a matcher for that. if you want to check the size of the content length of a response, so you could add a matcher for that as well. You could also do regex matches. You could do binary matches. So binary matches saying that whether it's a zip file or not, or whether it's a JPEG file or PNG file, all those kinds of things. DSL is very powerful because it allows you to run functions on these matches. So I would show you an example also. So let's say we had this status code matching and I want to add this matcher here. So I would add it here. Let's indent it properly. So under the matchers, there's this type, status, and status. What are the status codes that I want to match? These are 200 and 302. So this is one of the matches that I added here. So what it would do essentially is that if I run this template onto a particular target, let's say the target is this one, test full hub. So it would go like it would replace this base URL with this URL. So let's do this, and then it would try all these pages. Let me remove this. It would try all these URLs, and it would for that it would add this header. User agent is Mozilla and all this user agent. And then it would check for the status code whether it's 200 or 302. So let's come back to this. So let me show you once. So cat urls.txt, I already have it here. Nuclei -l urls.txt -t php info.yaml. So see, this is the tag that we inserted, the php info thing. Then php info file detection template, it's the description, the name. This is the author, so author name is there. Low is the severity that we assign, and it has found that there's this php info page where it is still vulnerable because it matched 200 status or it matched 302. So either of these, if it got matched, it checked for that. But like that's not what we want to check. We want to check whether it's because 200 page would be any page that is successful, that would show a 200 response. So what we want to do is we want to check whether something unique that would help you identify this page. So if you would have seen a lot of PHP info pages, you would easily guess that if this string, PHP version string, if it's there, it would automatically, it could be that it's a PHP info page. Also, to be more sure, you could check whether this PHP credits this particular string is there or not, or any of these like key value pairs, so virtual directory support, whether it's there or not, or maybe configuration file. So any of these you could check. So you could very easily add it using a matcher called words. So I'm going to show that. So here it is, word and regex matches. So I would show you what's a word matcher. Let me show it here. Yeah, let's see this. So let's remove this. We could also keep this and we could add two matches also. I would also show you how to do that. Okay. So the matcher type is word. What are the words that I want to check for? So I want to check whether this particular string is there or not in the response that I've got. I also want to check whether this PHP credits string is there or not. And maybe I also want to check for this, let's say virtual directory support, because I'm a bit sure that if these three strings are there in the response, then it's probably PHP info page. Which part of the response I want to check? It's the body. What is the condition? It's AND. So AND condition means that PHP version should be there, PHP credit should be there, and virtual directory support. So all these three need to be there. If all these three matches, then only it would show a true positive. So let's run this. Oh, sorry, did I skip something? Okay, sorry. Words, type words. I think I didn't properly indent it. Maybe, yeah. So type and words is inside that. Yeah. So see, indentation is very important. So it's running for this. It found that phpinfo.php is vulnerable. So let me show you when it's not vulnerable. So if I do PHP version 1, 2, 3, let's say if this is a string I add, so this would not show as a true positive because the AND rule would negate it. So see, no result found. It was because PHP version 123, this is not the string that you would find on this page. You won't find that. And since we have this AND condition, so all these three strings need to be there. So let's do that. So that was very basic string matcher and all those. So let me show you one more thing. So if you want to do a negative match, let's say this negative condition, this will return all the URLs not having PHP session ID in the response headers. So part is header and negative flag is set to true. So what it does is, if header contains PHP session ID, if it doesn't contain that, then only it would show the results. So it might be useful for you in some cases. Here they have added multiple matchers. So first matcher name is PHP, then these words are there. Second matcher name is node, these headers or these words are there. Part is header. Third is Python, and then part is header. Condition is OR. So for this is OR condition. For this again, this is OR condition. Here no condition is specified, then by default it's OR condition. Also, I told you that you could add two matchers and set a condition for that. So let's say matcher conditions and. So what it would do is it would AND both of these matchers, so this and this. So let's say we had this status matcher earlier. So let me copy this. And then I would do an AND for this. So let me come back here. Yeah. So let's say I have a matcher. Let me indent it properly. Yep. So I have two matchers now. First is the word matcher and the second one is the status matcher. And I want to do an AND for that. So both of these conditions should be matched. So let me add a matcher condition here. So what it would do is it would check the response of this, and also it would check the response of this. So now let's run it again. So yeah, it again shows true because in the second condition also there was a 200 response. Whereas if I would have put it 201 here, it would not show the results because either of these won't match here, and this particular condition would fail. And because it's an AND condition, so both of these need to be true. So see, no results found, happy hacking. So let's change it back to 200. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me talk about DSL as well. So DSL is also a very powerful thing here. So there's an example here. Yeah, this one. So here the matcher type is DSL, and what they're checking is the length of the body should be less than 1024 and status code equal to 200. Also, it should also contain MD5 cookie, and what they have done is the response body they have changed it to all 2 upper. So 2 upper, what it does it into the capital case, and then they are checking if the MD5 sum of the cookie is contained in the uppercase body. So you could see how powerful it is. You could code some of these things and get responses matches very easily. There are a few things here I would discuss in these examples as well. So yeah, there are regexes, there are extractors. So you could go with the documentation, but very basic. It's how you write a template, Nuclei template. Go on. Through the weekend you could write some of your own template. Maybe submit it to their repositories and create a PR for some of these templates. So this is the repo for this. So let's talk about a few YAMLs. It would be with increasing difficulty. So this is the very easiest one. It's quite easy to understand. If you would have followed along till here, it's very easy to understand this one. So the ID is Firebase detect. Info is Firebase detect. Author name severity low. He has not mentioned any description here, but yeah, that's fine. Then this is the request part. Request method is get. What is the path they're trying to access is dot settings rules.json auth equal to Firebase secret, and the matches is word, and the words that the person is trying to match is could not parse auth token, and where he wants to match is it's a body. So inside the response body they're trying to match this could not parse auth token, and this is because if it would be a valid Firebase URL, so because the auth is not a valid secret, so this would return this part, could not parse auth token. So that's how this works. Let's talk about this PHP info YAML. So we already made this one. Let's see another person's file. So we mentions ID is PHP info files, PHP info disclosure, author name, severity low, method get. They have added quite a few URLs. So that's what I said. If you are making a PR for this, make sure that you do it properly. You add all the relevant URLs. Yeah, you might miss a few of them. That's fine, but put an effort to make a template that would be useful for other people. Matches type a word. The words that it's trying to match is PHP extension and PHP version. Condition is AND. So what we were trying to do is PHP version and PHP credits, and we were also trying to match this one. Our condition was also AND. This was not very relevant, and even part body is the default thing, so we could have removed that. So this is the like YAML for PHP info that's already in the Nuclei templates. Now let's see this one. So git config YAML. So here what the author is trying to send is he's trying to send a raw get request. So if you don't want to write method get path and all those, and if you want to add some specific headers or something special you want to do, so you could use this raw thing, and you could straight away copy this request from your website and paste it here. Matcher conditions is again and this is for git config disclosure. So type words you want to check is core. So if you would have seen a git config, you would see that there's this core thing that's mentioned there. Another type is DSL, and DSL matching is contains to lower body, so is converting the body to lowercase and checking for the presence of like HTML tag, the starting of HTML tag, also the ending of body tag. So if both of these conditions are false, then this type DSL would be true. So basically is checking whether it's like whether there is actually a git config page and not a HTML page, because if you are getting let's say 200 and there's not a git config page, so the server might be sending you a error page or a custom error page that would be an HTML page. So for using DSL is trying to validate that also, that it's not an HTML page and only core text is there. So that's pretty much about Nuclei templates. Hope you have a great Christmas and Happy New Year. In New Year, probably first or let's say second week, I would try to do a live stream. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this session. If you like it, like the video, share it with your colleagues or whomsoever you feel they would get benefited out of it. Subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot.